almost 95%. They have 8 legs, so they're not quite bugs, but I won't get sad if you think of them that way. Woolsey Wet Prairie is enormous. This is part of a mitigation project, and it's also in bloom, a gorgeous place to go see all sorts of birds and deer and tons of insects. This year it was very interesting because it was dry just about everywhere I went, but Woolsey Wet Prairie always had some sort of moist area there. There are a lot of different regions within this enormous 46 acres of wetland prairie. And this is some data from going to these 4 sites. So basically what you're looking at here is the sum of, I went to each of these sites for, over the summertime from May to October, 11 times. So summing up each of those 30-minute periods over the entire season. And in green, we've got honeybees, and you can see that they pretty much dominate all of the sites. And honeybees are not native. They do a lot of pollination, and they are everywhere. They've been in the U.S. since 1622. And they're probably a part of our ecosystem for always now. Carpenter bees were nice and healthy in the red there. And then bumblebees, you can see, were in varying amounts. With most bees being at the World Peace site and the Paul Noland site, and the fewest down here at Lake Fayetteville, which is, because like I said, most of it was bare ground most of the time. But if we take a look at what happened with the bumblebees here, it's pretty interesting, I think. Lake Fayetteville didn't have so many bumblebees. We've got the same thing with the total number of bumblebees, bumblebees only here. And these are the different species. We've got the 2-spotted bimaculatus in blue, and Chrysiocolus as the brown-belted in red. The common eastern bumblebee in green is impatiens, and then Pennsylvanicus, the American bumblebee that I talk about all the time, is here in purple. And Lake Fayetteville didn't have very many bees, but it had a healthy diversity. It had 3 out of those 4 species, with only Pennsylvanicus not seen there. Paul Noland had an exceptionally large amount of bees compared to all of the other sites, but mostly driven by Chrysiocolus. That was the one that was in greatest numbers there, but also showing 3 species, all but the Pennsylvanicus. Woolsey Wet Prairie was the only one that showed all 4. And so, I mean, the 2-spotted bumblebee in blue and impatiens, the common eastern, and the American bumblebee in purple, very small amounts. And Chrysiocolus was still the one that was most common there, but it did show all 4. And what I think is just absolutely wild is that World Peace Prairie had bimaculatus, the 2-spotted, and Bumpus pennsylvanicus, but not Chrysiocolus, which was the most common one everywhere. I did see it in the prairie, that's Pinnacle Prairie right next door, but it wasn't part of that standardized sampling that it had while I was there. So what's also awesome is how many of the Pennsylvanicus I saw at World Peace. So this was the only site that I had just an enormous showing of Pennsylvanicus, and that goes for all of my sites across the 13 that I go to throughout Northwest Arkansas. Pennsylvanicus was best shown at World Peace, with the exception of Baker Prairie out in Harrison being just a little bit more so. And it's also interesting when you think about just seeing that 2-spotted bumblebee and the American bumblebee at World Peace, because bumblebees have a seasonal phenology. They sort of come in waves as the summer goes on. So early in the springtime, you've got bimaculatus coming in, and it's followed up by Chrysiocolus, which likes to stick around during the hot, dry part of the summer. It was doing very well this year. This is its overall abundance there. I mean, it was the most common bumblebee that I encountered here, even in the midst of all that drought. And Pennsylvanicus rounds it out till the fall. It's the one that comes in at the end. So World Peace, strangely enough, had the early species and the late species, but neither of the mid species there. And one of the reasons I'm bringing up the seasonality is because what I hope that people can really look at is how to encourage bees in their own backyard. So flowers need bees, and bees need flowers. And this is something that I like to think of as being coupled conservation. And so we tend to think a lot about things that are critically imperiled plants. This is one that's sort of rare sunflower in Arkansas. It does show up in Washington County sometimes, but the Natural Heritage Commission has it listed as an S1. This is its worst category of imperiled. And it's something that is apparently limited in seed set throughout its range. This is one of the reasons that